So now we're left with a choice. We either need to accept the conventional dating method of Friday and Sunday and discard the sign of Jonah as a literal sign, or be willing to challenge the conventional view and see where the text leads us. The first century followers of Jesus were willing to challenge the status quo, and I believe that 21st century followers are as well. So let's dive in and see what we can discover. Now, in order to really see this, we're going to need to build a really good visual aid. And I've been told that my spiritual gift is PowerPoint making, so let's see if we can't translate that into a really good video. The first thing we need to see are the days on the Hebrew calendar. Now, remember, these days are going from sunset to sunset. But that's not super helpful for us. We generally don't visualize days like this. So let's overlay our midnight to midnight Roman days. We've got the little suns and moons on there as well to showcase when it's day and when it's night. But now we've got to start labeling stuff. In a previous video, we did a long explanation of how Jesus was crucified at Passover. That's why Paul, when speaking about Passover directly, tells us that Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. The authors of the apostolic scriptures want us to understand that Jesus was crucified at Passover, at the exact same time that the lambs were being sacrificed in the temple. That would mean that Jesus' last Seder meal took place the night before, and he was arrested and tried overnight, leading into Passover. But Luke makes sure to tell us that it was preparation day, and the Sabbath was beginning. That tells us that they must have had Jesus' body in the tomb before sunset on the day that he was crucified. So we can place Jesus' burial at the end of the same Hebrew day that he was crucified, before sunset. Now we have to account for the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was in the belly of a fish for 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. So if we count 1 night, 1 day, 2 nights, 2 days, 3 nights, and the 3rd day, this accounts for a full 3 days and 3 nights. Interestingly, this places Jesus' resurrection at sunset at the end of the Hebrew day rather than in the morning. But this is consistent with what John tells us when he says that early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. The women wouldn't have traveled out in the middle of the night, so they waited until early in the morning the following day. The Gospels are clear that this is the first day of the week. This is consistent with Matthew telling us that they came after the Sabbath. Remember that the biblical Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. They couldn't have visited the tomb on that day, so they waited until the following day, very early in the morning on the first day of the week. But this now starts to create a very different picture from the conventional viewpoint. Filling in the Hebrew days of the week, we see that Jesus would have been crucified on the 4th day of the week. Or if we fill in the names of our modern days of the week, we still have the women visiting the tomb on a Sunday, but then working backwards, it lands Jesus' crucifixion on a Wednesday afternoon, not a Friday. This is a fairly radical divergence from the conventional view of Jesus' death taking place on a Friday, but it does fully account for the literal sign of Jonah.